And here we are, is a podcast for professionals, believers, and genuine people looking for genuine conversation. My name is Kia Harris Saklen, and I'm your host. I'll be sharing information about nonprofits, faith, business, entrepreneurship, life, and much more. I'm so excited for you to be joining me, and here we are. At some point, I did not care to share about myself with people. I was very awkward in conversation. I didn't want to put myself in uncomfortable situations. I didn't want to reveal who I was. I was more about learning about others and who they are to divert the attention away from myself because I did not like the attention being the focus of conversation. And so I would not be transparent. And in turn, that meant I was not authentic. I was not true to who I was because I was holding back that part of me that enjoyed holding a conversation. And in later years, I found that this was something that I enjoyed, that it wasn't difficult to have small talk and start conversations and think about what to talk to someone about. And so I became more authentic, more of stepping in my identity and making sure that there were those around me that could benefit from knowing me and truly knowing me. And it's not that it was pretending, it was more that I was very insecure and reserved, and I did not want to have an open door for anyone to get in. But as I've grown, I've realized that me sharing allows people to trust me more and to just have a genuine relationship and to learn from and to connect with others. So why not be transparent? It's okay to be transparent. It's okay to share things with others. And yes, we have discernment about things. I won't always share certain things with people because they're not someone to share it with, or they're not someone I want to have information about that. So, of course, when we use discernment, we'll be able to determine who's there because they truly want to listen, because they truly have insight to offer you, or those who are there just because they want something from you, or they are considering how they can benefit off of you, or they take pride in hearing about things that are concerning you because they wish that those things concerning you would end you. And I know this to be true because of my experience with certain people. But it has not tainted my desire to have genuine relationships, hasn't tainted my relationships with others who are truly designed to be in my life. So, yes, we are believers, but we're going to have trials, just like it says in James. Count it all joy, it says, right? So, we're supposed to count it all joy. In those places of not having joy, it was a place of growth. And when I began to complain and I was thinking about an exit and where's the door? How do I get out of this? It was more of God saying, well, this is a lesson that I need you to learn in this space. We don't have to be perfect in front of God. In fact, we can't, because He knows everything. He knows every single thing about us. He sees us. He's watching me record this episode. He sees everything. He knows everything. He knows your thoughts. So if this is true, we can go to Him and be transparent and say, God, I need help. I'm reading this audiobook or listening to this audiobook. And one of the characters in the audiobook, she's going through something. And at some point, she reached kind of this peak of being close to asking God for help, but she never allowed it to leave her mouth. So she's in this level of pride because she knows she needs to ask God for help, but she just will not. And I believe the breakthrough is in when you ask God for help because he's just waiting for you to say, I'm going to lean on you. And as I've said before, often we can be like, okay, God, here it is. I trust you. You give him the thing or the series of things that you're going through. And then at some point, you're like, well, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to take it back. And you just take it back. And he's like, well, wait, you just gave that to me. You really want that back? I don't think you want that back. Let me keep it. But we just insist on doing it our own way. There's a lot of things that are out of our control. And it's okay to not have the control. So if I've considered my transparent moments, it's led to further and enhanced relationships with people that I care about because we all need people. This is the reality. As introvert or extrovert that you are, we need people. We need to socialize. We need to be able to talk to someone. And I'm not going to get super religious and say, well, just go to God, just talk to God about things. And sure, I go to God all the time, but as a human, I also need that connection with someone else to talk about things with and run through ideas with. So that's okay. There's freedom and transparency for you and others. So you should walk in your God given design with confidence. How can you remember who you are in the midst of the enemy trying to tell you who you're not? Remembering that you are not what the enemy is saying you are. The greatest gift that God gives you is a sound mind. And so when you're connected to God, you will have a sound mind. Doesn't mean that the enemy is not going to say things to try to reduce you. That's really what he wants to do. He wants to reduce your identity so that you can't advance to the giant that God has called you to be. You're a giant, nothing else. So when you're transparent for others, it can shed light on them not being alone and how they can have the victory. I've shared my testimony about being healed, being born with uneven legs and one of the legs growing out. Only God did that. I've shared my testimony on deliverance, the fact that as a believer in Jesus Christ, I had demons whose intention was to keep me from advancing, and a lot of other things that I'm still wanting to impact. That's why I'll always ask God after deliverance, which is the expelling of demons from a human body, even from the body of a believer. And for every believer, it is something that is necessary. You should at least do a check with God and say, do I need deliverance? Because there's just certain things in my life that just seem abnormal. And even the enemy will try to keep you from even taking that into consideration because he wants to keep on leeching off of your life. Do you understand that my intention is for you to reach the peak, top, ceiling breaking, even beyond the ceiling place that God wants for you? Because he can take you there if you take him on the ride with you. So how can we be more transparent as leaders? Sharing what God says to share, even if it's a few sentences about what happened to you last week and how you overcame the thoughts of the enemy. That can help somebody. You know, the question I often want to ask people and is one of the top conversations I have with people or conversation starters is, what are your dreams been like lately? Because God can tell you about yourself and your dreams. He can tell you about your future. He can tell you about what's coming up. He can tell you and give you insight on what the enemy is trying to do too. He can give you warnings. He can train you. I've been trained in my dreams multiple times. So share what God has taught you with someone who may feel like they're on an island and no one is experiencing the same thing. It's not true. God doesn't just call one prophet on the whole earth. He calls multiple prophets. He doesn't just create one seer on the whole world. He creates multiple seers that can dream, can have visions. So we can also be more transparent as ministers by humbling ourselves to be more open, asking for assistance when needing, apologizing, and being someone who is just willing to help someone along the journey. And most importantly, we should be transparent with God about what our concerns are. Often our concerns are so small. They're so small. Like, oh, this work situation. How am I going to do this? They're so small. How do we be confident at every stage of our lives and not be so progressive with progression with success? Like, in order for me to be successful at this age, I need to have this, and that. It's not how God works. It's not how God worked with Abraham and Sarah. He didn't say, and I'm going to set it out that for every human being at this age, for every single person, you are going to acquire this. You must have this. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Be who God has called you to be. Because anything less is an insult to God Himself.